When it comes to our overall health, do we spend way too much time worrying about macros, protein, fat, toxins, oxalates, these things, and not enough time thinking about our overall environment as it relates to our health? Well, today's conversation covers that, so stay tuned. Welcome back, my friends. My name is Sarah. I am known as Carnivore Yogi. Thank you so much for being here and clicking on today's video. Today, I had the pleasure of speaking with Ryan Carter, who is known as Livevitae over on Instagram. I will put a little link to his Instagram page here so you can follow him if you're not already. Now, I've actually been following Ryan for many years now and absolutely love his content. But when I found out that Ryan is really into quantum health the way that I am, I was really eager to get him here to the channel to interview him. So today we talk about a lot of things. You might need to listen to this interview a couple times, as I did, even though I had the actual conversation. But we talk about a lot of things as it relates to our overall health, and maybe taking the focus away from the food and the macro counting and all of the nitpicking that I think a lot of us are guilty of in this community. And I think it's a very thought-provoking and interesting conversation. We talk about vitamin A toxicity. We talk about not enough vitamin D and how vitamin D is a marker for metabolic health. We actually talk about a lot of different things in this chat, and there are timestamps down in the information section below for you guys in case you want to navigate down and around through them. They are pretty detailed. And speaking of timestamps, those are going to be brought to you by my two sponsors today. The first one is going to be Optimal Carnivore. These are grass-fed organ meat complex supplements. They have heart, kidney, liver, spleen, brain, thymus, lung, and this is in a really easy to take capsule. A lot of those foods are really wonderful to eat, but I don't know a lot of people that are eating those, including myself. So I do like to supplement with these myself and think they are a great brand, a great company. You can use my code Carnivore uppercase Y to save 10% on these supplements over on Amazon. And again, I don't really like to call them supplements because it's just organ meats that are desiccated, guys. So these are a really great choice if you are wanting to put some organ meats in your diet, but you don't necessarily like the taste. Thanks again to Optimal Carnivore for making my timestamps and this podcast possible. The second sponsor of today's episode is going to be Upgraded Formulas. Now, this is their magnesium, which I absolutely love. Most of us are magnesium deficient, and this absorbs really, really well due to their nanoparticle technology. So it actually bypasses the gut. If you have gut issues and are not able to absorb magnesium, this actually will bypass your gut and absorb better. What I really love about Upgraded Formulas is their hair tissue mineral analysis with a consultation, because it allows you to actually see if you need to add magnesium, if you have a mineral imbalance, instead of just blindly supplementing. What that hair test allows you to do is just test from the comfort of your own home and find out what your mineral levels actually are. So you can use my code YOGI12 to save on anything on the Upgraded Formulas website, and I thank them again for being one of my sponsors. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoy today's episode with Ryan. Make sure you are following him over on social media. Leave us a comment, especially if there's something really thought-provoking that you want me to maybe do a video on in the future, or even have him back on and have further discussions. All right, guys, enjoy. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming back and tuning into today's show. I am very excited about today's guest. His name is Ryan Carter, and he is known on Instagram as Livevitae. I hope I said that correctly. You can correct me if I did not. He's a nutritionist, and he's very into quantum health and obviously sitting outside. So Ryan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on. I've been listening to your show, listening to all the guests, and it's exciting to be on here finally.
That's amazing. I've been such a fan of yours for such a long time. So when I connected with you and you're like, I'm listening to your podcast with Dr. Montgomery, I was like, what?
Yeah, I think I've listened to all the quantum people like Carrie, Corey, Dr. Cruz. Those are the main ones I've listened to. But yeah, I mean, I'm hungry for knowledge and wisdom, basically. So I'm there.
I love it. I'm the same. I want to listen to anything I can get my hands on quantum health wise. I'm just like hungry for it at this point. So it's awesome to have you here. So let's just talk a little bit about your background. You're a nutritionist, correct?
Yes, I'm a nutritional therapist. So again, people can call themselves nutritionists by being a nutritional therapist. Essentially, it's the same thing. The generic thing is just looking all about nutrition, but as we know, it's a bit deeper than that. There's a whole component or rabbit hole, not even a rabbit hole because it's the fundamentals, but there's a whole avenue to go and explore with lifestyle medicine. So sleep, stressors, sunlight exposure, darkness, body temperature or temperature, oxygen utilization or carbon dioxide utilization. There's so many things. It's not really just all about nutrition. So nutritional therapist allows me the ability to think for myself, to ask better and important questions, be very curious with my clients. And again, a fairly decentralized approach with my clients. Again, that allows me to work around the world. And again, practicing safety, of course, not doing stupid things, but really customize and personalize nutritional lifestyle medicine.
I love it. And how long have you been doing this?
So officially, I'm fairly new in the game, I suppose. So only a year and a half.
Oh, really?
Qualified as a nutritional
Qualified. Yeah.
therapist. To get there, that was like 5 years of training or learning. And again, just learning the application or discovering the wisdom, going beyond the curriculum, like I would say, and even having skin in the game for my own journey, like
Yes.
10 years or so. So literally just been practicing what I preach for the last 10 years. And again, you do need that qualification, that accreditation to work with clients, to have insurance, to look after yourself, and to ensure like safety is a big thing. Because again, there's a lot of information out there, and having someone respectful, but also aware of interactions and limitations of certain things and can actually read studies and connect the dots is very important.
I agree. The thing with reading the studies, I think, is huge because there's a lot of people that are, and I've talked about this on so many podcasts, that they kind of cherry pick studies and say, well, this study says this, and they kind of bring them all together to support whatever theory they're trying to promote at the time. And I think what a lot of people don't realize, if you don't know how to read a study correctly, you just are going to believe everything everyone says, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's various degrees of depths of studies, the methodology, the actual researcher, the publication, so the actual journal it's in. It's basically a mess, a big mess. And then from top of that, the alternative health space, the craziness of supplementation, gizmos and gadgets, dogma. And again, like people, unfortunately, or society, like definitives. And that's very rare to find in science or in health because it's an N=1 game. And again, that comes back being to a clinician is to understand all this noise and to solidify that into a system-based approach with context. And again, obviously everyone's got different goals, but technically speaking, there is a quantum biophysical system which influences your biochemistry. And again, understanding the system allows you to focus in on what really moves the needle. And instead of going to the dogma about goals or obstacles, which are important because everybody wants to win to a certain degree and improve their health, and they see that attachment with certain goals. But it's about having a sustainable system in place, and me being a clinician to actually encourage this, to empower people to understand this. And then again, to not use my services. I don't want people to use me more than a year or two to a certain degree. I want to resolve issues, whether that is fertility, whether that is, I don't know, some hypothyroidism, or whether it's just being the inability to actually stick to something, i.e. low dopamine levels, or whatever is going on. It's having this system in place and understanding where they're at on this journey or this spectrum, and then enhancing them daily, like daily wins or like 1% wins each day, going towards that system and solidifying these practices.
Do you see a lot of people that really have an issue with low dopamine in your practice?
I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And again, like what would be low dopamine? I mean, it would be the critical thinking of what you don't know. So again, it's like your blind spot. So again, like you can have attachment to dopamine from everywhere. But again, like we know, likely they're from modern means, be it with food, be it with entertainment, technology, drugs, alcohol, sugar, or hyperpalatable foods, even exercise,
Yes.
even pornography. These are drainers and desensitizing our natural connection to the real dopamine hitters. And that would be the thing that I'm in right now.
Yes.
That would be also on the floor. And again, this is solidifying on my biochemistry. And again, that's essentially how sunlight works. We're connected to it. We are designed to be addicted to it, especially more so, I believe or hypothesize, from European descent, because we have lighter melanin. So again, it's I do notice my dopamine drive for the sunlight is really apparent. And actually, I do like reflect, even on where I am right now in Mexico, is that these Mexicans actually don't have the desire to be in the sun like I do. And again,
Really?
is that because they got that photoprotection from melanin? Because obviously they have darker skin tone. So again, I would only, I'm from the UK, so I would only get a short window of that high UV opportunity. And when it was there, I'd be out there, like I'm talking ancestrally speaking.
Yes.
And again, because I'm now following the sun to a certain degree, I am just like literally all day in the sun. I don't know whether, again, I need to understand that and apply that critical thinking. Is that a good thing for me to be doing every single day? Again, I don't think so. But again, I need to be aware of my ancestral, the bigger picture of health, and not be deluded that it's all about sun exposure and lying out there, getting all the sun. Because I don't think having excess sun exposure is wise. I do think we need a certain stimulus. And again, there's that personalization and context to apply. It's the same thing for cold. And just understanding this. And I don't even know how like what the start of the conversation went on, but dopamine levels. So,
yes.
So again, like being understanding the true connection to dopamine, and that would be from the ground, the sun, and everything that I like practice myself, or what you might see on social media. And again, sure, food, connection, or the gatherings around food, that increases dopamine. Intimate relationships with your significant other. Sex, obviously, that the explosion of chemicals from sex and orgasms and all these kind of things are very, very powerful stimulants. So again, like I see, it's everywhere. And unfortunately, it's like a big cloud over the health space with all this dogma, supplements, dietary dogma. Even like we discussed before this, your name as an example.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not really a strict carnivore now. Like,
right.
What does carnivore, like people call themselves carnivore-ish? Like
right.
that's just absolute hogwash. That's like, you might as well just call yourself an omnivore, which means you eat both plants and meat.
Yeah.
And sure, there's context there, but like, again, you've created sort of a not directing this at you, I'm just generalizing, but like you create this like segment and a marketing approach, and you're making people identify to this label and identity, which humans naturally like to gravitate towards.
They do.
But again,
they want absolutes.
Yeah, but again, that crowds out our ability to critically think.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gets us like going down one path when like there's multiple paths available. And typically what you'll see in these like carnivore or ancestral people that do well on these diets, it's primarily not the diet that they've done well on, it's the accumulation effect of various things. So it's never just the diet or removing one food. It's the cumulative effect of sleeping better, sunning better, loving better, connecting better, moving better, breathing better. And again, this is fundamentally how we produce energy and how we deal with information, or the order of an organization or system being the human body and the broader spectrum of the environment around us. So again, they never just change the diet, and the diet is the sole premise of their benefit. or alleviation of their problems. It's a whole array of things. And again, a study would never find this. No. Again, you could probably pick one thing, some compound in celery or some compound in lectins or bell peppers, whatever it is, and say, this is the reason why I have my gut issues, or this is the reason why I have eczema. And yeah, there might be some truth to that, but it's not a factual thing to say because there's various other things contributing towards it. For example, most people in the functional medicine or nutritionist space believe it's all about the gut, but they are unaware that what if we actually think back, is it the skin then the gut? What's the interaction between the skin and the gut? No one really understands.
Circadian clock in the gut. That's the big thing.
Well, again, there's mechanisms. Again, the body is basically as the skin is a solar panel.
Yes.
And again, like if you're indoors all day, your solar panel is not powered. And again, of course, that signal of the outside environment based on photoreceptors or opsins from vitamin A is going to be a little bit AWOL. So again, like the gut is in essence going to be screwed. So is it really all about what you're feeding yourself on the inside, or is it on the outside in as well? Which is a big like rabbit hole to go down. Because again, like that's where the blood is. That's where we have oxygen tension. That's where a large amount of our T cells are on our skin. And again, we have the neuroendocrine system there as well. So again, there's so many things in play here. And again, like even functional medicine, they have their own dogma. And I don't classify myself as a functional medicine practitioner or that paradigm. I'm a generalist. I'm not a hormone expert. I'm not a detox guy. I'm not the mold man. I'm not none of them things. I'm a generalist, and I truly just devour like information to connect the dots, all down to you basically. And again, that requires being a clinician to have high dopamines to be able to critically think these things or these processes over and see, where does this apply? Does this apply to this client in front of me? Or are they ready for this in their journey or their healing journey to a certain degree? Because again, not everybody's ready to do cold therapy. Not everybody's ready to do high dose UVB exposure. Not everybody's ready to start taking high dose B1 as an example, which is getting popular.
I know, Elliot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a great guy. He would probably be one of the people that I look up to, or I would gravitate towards in terms of the nutritional, because again, he's actually a nutritional therapist and he was on your show.
He's wonderful, yeah.
But again, we can't get rabbit holed by it's just an oxalate issue.
One thing,
yeah, and it all comes down to basically like redox with the handling of things such as oxalates. So again, that's a
thank you. I just had this conversation with my group. I hate to cut you off, but like I was talking about this bread and I was like, oh, it's this great, low carb bread. It tastes like this bread that you could get at the steakhouse, but you make it with like coconut flour and flaxseed. And they were like, oh my God, oxalates. And I was like, dude, if your redox function is good, you can have a little bit of flaxseed, you can have some spinach, you can have these things, and it doesn't completely wreck your body. And that's what has been so frustrating for me from the vantage point that I'm in, is that people get so hung up on, like you said, the oxalates or this or that, or the plant toxins and this, and, that's what's wrecking your health, but they're unwilling to look at the full picture of what the rest of their life looks like,
Well, again, that comes through the oxalate issue. Again, there's a big nutritional dogma there. And again, I do think there's merit to what they are suggesting, because again, would we inherently eat spinach powder?
Hell no.
Or almond meal?
No.
Or all these type of foods in excess?
No
way. So there is a premise there of overloading the system.
Yes.
And again, there's a premise there of the microbiota there, use of antibiotics. Even the light going through your eye would actually have a mechanistic role in your ability to handle oxalates, basically.
Yes.
And that would be coming down to like glutathione levels or the recycling of glutathione levels, which again is a premise of a pathway called the NADPH. And again, typically with people with low redox, NADPH is not there. Yeah. And then we'd also see issues with estrogen, We'd also see issues with melatonin synthesis, also cortisol, immune activity, and everything else. And again, like these are the people typically, like we know, indoors around you, around like non-native EMFs. And again, they're placing these devices literally on their gut, on their brain with like AirPods. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, again, anything that activates calcium in these cells literally opens up the gut, opens up the blood-brain barrier, not only for the things to come in there that we don't want, like endotoxins, like, I don't know, parasites, viruses, you name it, but also from the good stuff seeping out. So now we lose the good stuff. And this is actually not just in the barrier, this is actually working every single cell of the body. In every single mitochondria, there's a pore. And again, when that redox, when that membrane potential or the oscillation or the bioenergetic energy, whatever you want to describe it as, when that drops, things go out. We lose magnesium, we lose the B vitamins. So is it really all about deficiency in organs? I don't think so. I think it's the inability to hold on and to remove, but also to put a barrier in place and to have those guards on the door, the security, like the bouncers on the nightclub, to be able to say, stay in there or stay out. And again, that's redox controlling that. And again, the first thing to do to support that is like spending time outside. And again, food definitely has a role because it's in direct contact with the with your enterocytes. So it is important. But again, it all comes back down to light. If your
food is light, right?
Well, it's stored light.
Yeah.
And then basically we just reverse the process inside our mitochondria and release light as a result.
Yes.
Infrared light. But we also, when the cells are stressed, we also release extreme low frequency UV light as well. And that's actually a free radical. It's a signaling cascade to induce growth as well, or to induce repair processes such as apoptosis or autophagy. And again, if that vitamin A cycle, like I described earlier, is not in place, and there's, again, like something that you promote or talk about is shellfish, fish, that DHA is not there with that vitamin A, then there's going to be problems. There's going to be problems with things such as apoptosis, autophagy, leptin as well.
Yeah, I think we talk so much about autophagy and everyone's like, oh, you have to do all this fasting and you have to be in ketosis. And I'd love to hear your take on this. I was talking with a client this morning and she's like, I just can't get ketones very high. And I said, I don't want you to stress out about that. I want you to focus on your sleep, because autophagy happens when we have adequate melatonin production. So if you're doing everything with the light that I've taught you, right? You're outside as much as you can. She's in, Minnesota, so it's a little harder for her, but she's doing it. She's making it work. I said, what I want you to think about is you're sleeping well. You're getting good deep sleep. Your Oura ring says you're getting good deep sleep. You're getting autophagy, as long as you're not eating before bed. You don't have to have these super high ketones or do these, I think fasting is great. It has a place, but she's just stressed out because her ketones are low. I'd love to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, so it depends. Like, how did you measure those ketones? Breath, urine, blood. So again, if you are burning fat and you being very efficient with those ketones, would you see high elevations of ketones?
No,
not really. So understanding that nuance, maybe there's some defects in the ability to break down fats or the fatty acids or transport them inside the cell mitochondria and to actually beta oxidize them. So there's a premise there. And again, it depends on our environment. And again, mitochondrial health with the ability to induce autophagy. Sometimes autophagy is not a smart move as well. Maybe there's a seasonal approach with things, apoptosis, autophagy. And again, that typically occurs with hibernation, cellular regeneration, and it comes into and touches upon like NAD levels, sirtuins, senescent cells, all these kind of processes, oxygen. Again, I wouldn't directly like chase ketones.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't want to be in a limbo state where there's no glucose coming in and there's not really utilization of fatty acids coming in as well. So again, that would be a bit of like mayday for the central nervous system, which would require one of those fuel sources. And again, the body keeps glucose stable, and it keeps it stable via four hormones doing so. So it's fairly important to keep glucose levels stable, opposed to one hormone keeping them down. So that tells you a lot about the importance or the premise of going without food for a while or fasting. We want to maintain our glucose levels. That one insulin hormone to keep it down shows you that we wouldn't have had the abundance of carbohydrates to a certain degree. And perhaps there's maybe some haplotype or SNPs involved with the transporters or the ribosome RNA or whatever's going on there. So again, if you're sleeping well, if you're doing a little bit of fasting, if you can do some fasted low intensity cardio alongside of that in the morning, then that's all you need to do. And again, it's a tool. All these things are tools. And again, there's generally a seasonal approach, depending on where you are, of inducing these tools as well. Not everybody is ready to do fasting. What we do know is when we do fast is that we actually, we break down fats. We actually now, from the accumulation of environmental toxicants, xenobiotics in our environment, that's where they get stored in the fat. So if we are doing a chronic calorie restriction, maybe doing crazy amounts of cold therapy, fasting, then again, that xenobiotics, these environmental toxicants, are now being processed, transported in circulation. And again, that in itself is a stressor. That in itself as well is a risk of cardiovascular adverse events, essentially. And again, like LPS, lipopolysaccharides, is literally one of the triggers for the majority of modern diseases, be it with endothelial dysfunction, be it with heart issues, heart attacks. And again, Dr. Michael, I can't pronounce his surname, Twyman, who's on your show as well. He, again, like I had an amazing one-on-one conversation with him, just privately discussing this. Literally just picked his brains. And he said it's just so apparent. And then again, we would never have the permeability in our gut to be having these LPS presented to our liver or our kidneys or to the macrophages and inducing all this damage every single day. But again, fasting does provide a break, especially for the enterocytes, especially for the microbiota, to basically remove probably dysbiotic, opportunistic bacteria and allowing the enterocytes to nourish again. Only if we got a good baseline foundation of health. And again, sure, some nutrients are needed for that. Sulfur, some amino acids, of course, the fat soluble vitamins, and of course DHA there in the gut. But again, it gives us a break. And again, I've actually recently started doing more fasts.
Maybe I noticed that on your social media, you've been doing a lot more fasting. So
again, I've probably been neglecting that for a while, but now I'm doing 36-hour fast, 48-hour fast. And again, I don't have an association to call it something, or whether I'm chasing autophagy, whatever it is, or chasing ketones. It's just a great tool and a reset. And again, it's going to elicit a calorie deficit. So it's going to enhance some body composition improvements. It's going to give me a break for the attachment with food. So again, I'm not always thinking about food. Food, evolutionary, would just be about hunting something, killing something, and eating it, and then just chilling the F out.
Right.
And then when you're hungry again, you just go out and do the same process. We wouldn't have had this 3 box meals per day, constantly thinking about food, surrounded with food, or when we turn on our social media or recipes or ads or whatever's going on. So again, we're so surrounded by this culture of just thinking about food. And then again, this takes up storage in our brain, and takes us away of being present or connecting or doing other things. So again, it's a good tool, especially when you're traveling. I traveled from the United Arab Emirates to Mexico last week. And again, like, I'm not going to eat on a plane. That's like the worst place in the place in the that you could possibly do is like eat on a plane. Like you have no idea what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah.
You might as
You're
well
in
just
this box of radiation, you know, and then you're gonna eat while you're in there.
Yeah, and it's not even that. It's like your body's ability to utilize oxygen, or your ability to make ATP and intracellular water, which you've obviously discussed with Carrie, or your ability to have that exclusion zone, or have high redox in your plasma, that just drops. So again, like, why would I want to put food in my body when it's not really going to be utilized? And again, like, we should be able to not eat for at least 12 hours or 16 hours without any problems. If that's the case, then again, like, there's some big problems going on with your metabolism. And again, if you even believe that some people out there say fasting's a stressor, it's complete BS as well. Everything is a stressor. It's about your perspective or perception of that. And like, again, if you can't adapt to a fast of 12 to 16 hours or 24 hours, like, again, you would have perished. Like, you would not have survived. And that significant, that shows that you are not in a good place.
I agree. And yeah, I went that way for a little while with fasting because I think I did too much of it. And so I was kind of against fasting for a while. And then when I started working with Dr. Hunt last year, she was like, I need you doing at least one 24-hour fast a week, and, you know, starting to do maybe a 48-hour fast every month. And I was just like, well, isn't that going to ruin my hormones? Isn't that going to be too stressful? And she's like, no. She's like, it's not, unless you get below a certain body fat percentage, your hormones are going to be fine. Because I think there's a lot of fear mongering about fasting, that it's going to ruin your hormones and this, that, and the other. And yeah, if you do it too much, absolutely. But I think that we've kind of swung the other way where people are afraid to go more than like 3 hours without having a snack.
Well, that's like the pro-metabolic diet crap.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I've seen some of your comments about that lately. I'm like, yes.
It's just, I mean, it's just, again, it's just a paradigm come from, well, again, I don't even think it's come from his mouth, from the Ray Peat, which I call Petarians.
Yeah.
And again, like, you throw in a bit of work from Molly Robbins, maybe listen to some guy called Matt Blackburn. Yeah. And again, or Carnivore Elias. And again, like,
well, Matt Blackburn is now, like, he says he doesn't want to have anything to do with the Ray Peat anymore. Just over the weekend. Breaking news.
Well, again, he blocked me basically, so I don't even see what he does because I was questioning his dogma around DHA. Yeah. And again, like, I think my girlfriend basically showed or told me that he's now promoting Carnivore oil.
He is, yeah. He just started this weekend.
Like, yeah, so again, it's just like, this is what happens when you are following a quote unquote leader or guru.
A guru, yeah.
That use definitives. It's all about this. It's vitamin E, but does he also know that vitamin E actually inhibits tyrosinase and melanin synthesis? Does he know that as well? No, he doesn't. But again, he's pushing a vitamin E paradigm.
Yeah, I was taking vitamin E and I did a genetic consult with Dr. Anthony J, and he's like, don't go near vitamin E. That's absolutely contraindicated for your genetics. Terrible. And I was like, oh crap. He's like, no, this is toxic for you. So not everyone should be taking vitamin E.
Well, again, it's just like, it's from, like, vitamin E is typically from polyunsaturated fatty acids.
Right.
Or containing foods. And again, it's a derivative of, I think on his one, from sunflower oil, which again is a big premise of that anti-PUFA movement.
Yeah.
And again, like, there's nature designed that vitamin E to be combined with the polyunsaturated fatty acid for that very reason. And again, like, taking excess influences various feedback cycles or feedback mechanisms and cycles to do with vitamin C, glutathione, the peroxidones, and all these other metabolic pathways. So again, if you're just taking this one thing, that is going to be doing, you don't even know what. And again, are these people actually measuring? No, they are happy to spend $200 on like a 3-month subscription, but again, get them to do a vitamin E test, or I don't know, I think a vitamin E test is like 60, 80 pounds, which would probably be $100.
Yeah,
again,
they're cheaper than that. I have a micronutrient level test for $99. You can get your B vitamins, E, A, all of that run. It's super cheap.
Well, there you go then. And again, like that removes the dogma, and that allows you to be the N=1. And again, you should become the CEO and doctor of your body, not some guru. You shouldn't outsource it to anybody else, because again, they changed their tune, whether it is like sugar is toxic and now eat all the fruit juices that you want with your steak, or everyone should avoid honey and tropical fruit. Now, like eat fruit and honey with your steak, or like glaze your steak with honey, which for me sounds disgusting.
I know, I have no interest in that at all.
But again, it comes back to the thing I said earlier, is that, yeah, they obviously improved their diet, they removed the junk food, but again, it's the cumulative effects and the other effects come in, be it that they're probably spending time up more, maybe they're in the water more, maybe they're surfing more, maybe they are grounding more, maybe they're spending less time on social media, but now they're turning off the Wi-Fi, or phones on airplane mode. So it's never one definitive thing. And again, dopamine levels, critically think, because there's a lot of information out there. And again, I've been there. I've done those things as well. But again, I'm also now in a position where I can read what these people are doing and assess it, and then see where that fits in a system, unbiased approach. Is this really relevant? Does this make sense? And again, I follow a lot of Dr. Jack Kruse's stuff. And again, I would be reading his blog posts, which are literally one of the hardest things that you could probably ever do.
It's written for doctors.
Well, I don't think it's not really written for doctors. It's written for people who just want to, like, I don't know, just go crazy, because it's so hard to actually understand, and it's like encrypted basically. So it takes a lot of dedication to read it all. But again, I'd be reading the citations that he would be providing. I would actually be, like, quote unquote fact checking it myself, seeing if it matches up. And then again, it's not like I'm a disciple of Dr. Jack Kruse. I highly respect his work, and a lot of my understanding does stem from him, or what he's passed on to the community with the books and other people in the field. But again, it's always checking, like, how does this fit, and connecting the dots, and never being too swayed by one person. And again, the real leaders, like, I'm trying to think of a quote. There's a quote that about leaders, it's not about being like a follower, it's about teaching people to lead themselves, basically lead themselves to water. Like, you don't tell someone, I think there's another quote about fishing and catching a fish, like, about how you teach someone how to fish, then you never, I thought the quote's
teach a man to fish and he'll never go hungry, or something like that, right?
Something like that, yeah. So again, it's like understanding these premises and how these fit and the fundamentals. And again, you don't need to worry too much about whether you have a MAO issue or a deficiency in I don't know, B5, an example, because the likelihood, again, B vitamins are water soluble. If you're not holding water or making water very well, how do you think that's going to work out for your B5 levels? Not very well. So again, there's no surprise. And again, these are all based on enzymes. Are your enzymes working well? Which is basically all to do with, like, again, redox and protons to a certain degree. How much can you hold charge? And the activity of these enzymes, how well are they going to be expressed? Your ubiquination rate, so how fast or slow you degrade protein, or the recycling of proteins. All these premises that come into the picture. So again, does everyone need a B5 for supplement? Generally not at the start. And this is essentially what I do with clients, is there's a lot of room for improvement with the fundamentals. Why would I want to waste someone's $2,000 with testing from the get-go? Why don't we actually improve their fundamentals? Let's see the libido increase. Let's see them start dreaming again to a certain degree. Let's see their hunger increase. Let's see them get stronger in the gym if they're training. let's see their bowel movements improve using a Bristol stool chart. Let's see that HRV increase a little bit. And again, maybe then is a more applicable time to see if they have any shortages or any apparent micronutrient deficiencies. And then that's when we can possibly explore things such as testing.
Yeah. I mean, I love what I've learned from, doing the Quantum Health TV program and just talking to so many amazing people like yourself in the quantum health space is always redox before you detox. And there's so many functional medicine practitioners who just are like, well, let's do detox this and detox that and put you on all these supplements. And it's like, until you actually have improved someone's redox function, it's going to be a huge waste of money and time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm actually doing I don't know whether to label them or say their name because I don't want to throw them under the bus, but I just completed a detox course by one of the quote unquote experts in the industry with his old supplement line. Well, he's a he as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's just, yeah, they present the problems and here's the solutions.
Right.
Here's the products for you. And again, this is so apparent in the industry is here's the problems, whether it's plastics, whether it's heavy metals, whether it's X, Y, and Z. And again, we can connect it. Here's some studies to show high mercury levels, or here we can say like oysters contain cadmium, or whatever's going on. And then here's the solution. This is the solution. Here's one study. And again, not factoring in like mitochondria, efficiency, thyroid levels, all these other components to look at like metabolic health, circadian rhythm. And again, we can even utilize things such as vitamin D as a light proxy, not as a supplement proxy, but as a light proxy. How much charge can you hold? That's what I use vitamin D as, not to see if you're deficient or not, but to see how much light your body has or can assimilate and store. So again, when our vitamin D levels are low, typically and again, that's the 25 hydroxy vitamin D, the storage form. When that is low, that's showing that the when 25 is typically more active to a certain degree and it's utilizing up or using all that stored. Or again, it could just be you can't bury light energy in your solar panel, in your skin, because you're deficient, you're dehydrated. And again, it's not about drinking copious amounts of water.
No.
It's about the intracellular water that we make from metabolism. And again, you talked a lot probably about this with Carrie, who actually made a really amazing article on my website discussing water.
Yes.
And again, there's lack of water intracellularly or intermitochondrially, then you are not going to hold charge. You are essentially not going to be able to make vitamin D.
Yeah, I think that's what people don't really understand. They're like, oh, I'm dehydrated. I just need to drink more water, when it's a matter of not necessarily the water. It's about, are you grounding? Are you exposing your body to infrared light, and sunrise and sunset? Are you going outdoors? If there's UV light available, are you getting any? That I never understood that until I started connecting with people like Carrie, and we really broke this down, because I was always kind of chronically dehydrated all the time.
Yeah.
And then when I learned how to flip off the Wi-Fi, we just bought a brand new house and I'm not even allowing Wi-Fi in the house. Like, we're getting it hardwired. My husband thinks I'm crazy still, but he's kind of going with it just because he's seen my health like dramatically improve over the last year. But things like that make a difference, and my daughter, who has autism, she says when the Wi-Fi is on, the walls are screaming, that it actually bothers her a lot when the Wi-Fi is on. And when my phone's not on airplane mode, she can tell, like it makes her head hurt. And so, we have to take these things into account and stop just blaming the food, oh, you're dehydrated because you're not eating carbohydrates.
Well, again, that sucks. Well, again, that comes down to, like, again, you need water.
Yeah, you need water in the cells. Yeah.
Well, you need water to be able to store those carbohydrates as glycogen, essentially, as well. So again, that's when possible issues arise as well. I just remembered something. I just went off track. We'll come back to it. It'll come back in a second.
Okay. Yeah. I guess we're talking about the whole, just looking at your environment as a whole, I think is important. When you remember, let's go back to it, but I did want to pick your brain a little bit about vitamin A toxicity, because that seems to be a topic. And I'm like, I think a lot of it has to do with your vitamin D status, because these vitamins are fat soluble, right? A, D, E, and K. And there's been a lot of, because I post about organ meats or organ meat supplements, and people start freaking out and saying, oh my gosh, you're going to get vitamin A toxicity if you take the organ meats. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think there's actually a study to show that consumption of actual whole food vitamin A causes toxicity, apart from, I think, a few maybe looking at seal or whale liver, or even like moose liver as an example. So I don't think consuming chicken livers or beef liver is something to worry about. And again, the thing here is to actually look at how food was probably consumed. So again, would a human or another animal, as an example, always be consuming liver every single day in small doses every single day? I don't think that would be the case. I think they would have hunted, caught it, ate the liver, and then like gone without food for like a while, or maybe not had the liver, or another a colleague or friend of the family of the or person, sorry, would have consumed the liver on the next animal. So again, I don't think it's something that we would have consumed copious high amounts of generally. And again, it comes back down to light, how vitamin A actually gets oxidized and actually goes to its active form on the skin or in the eye. And again, that's connected to vitamin D, the vitamin A and vitamin D cycle. There's that in the brain, but also in the skin and also in the gut. And again, when we are consuming too much vitamin D, or maybe we are in too much light, our vitamin A levels actually can go down. For example, like I said earlier, like I'm from European descent, my vitamin A levels from the sun would probably be rapidly more oxidized alongside things such as B2 and folate, which actually degrade or photooxidize in the sun. And again, that's typically how people see more yellow urine, is when they do sun exposure. It's actually typically the vitamin B2 from in the skin being degraded and you're peeing it out. So going back to the point, I think you can go overboard on any food.
Anything, yeah.
I think liver could possibly be the case, but again, for most people, they're having copious amount of blue light, so they're typically oxidizing the vitamin A from their system. So they probably need to replenish it. The thing with the replenishment requires the emulsification of fat soluble vitamins, and then for it to be transported in the body, and then to actually be uptaken in the cell, in the peripheral cells. And again, is there defects there? Is it just high in circulation for that very reason? What's the liver stores of the vitamin A as well? And again, we can just measure that. We can look at ceruloplasmin. We can measure vitamin A in the blood, measure vitamin D, and have an understanding of what's going on here. And again, that removes some of the concerns, and actually just testing, not guessing. And again, you don't need to go crazy with liver. You don't need to eat every single day in each meal. No. So again, apply a little bit of common sense.
Yeah.
But it's always, every single nutrient pathway is also connected to some other things.
Yes.
So again, is there a lack of DHA in the processing of vitamin A, especially for things such as thyroid physiology?
Yeah, so I think there's so many people that are afraid of seafood. There's a lot of fear mongering around seafood, and we eat it pretty often. I eat sardines probably 2 or 3 times a week. I have salmon roe, cooked salmon. I don't go overboard with it, but we have it fairly often here, because I feel like with my daughter having autism, it really does help her brain quite a bit. And I feel like it's an important thing, but people are afraid of the mercury toxicity. And so I know so many people that just completely avoid it altogether,
Yeah. Well, again, it's understanding human evolution. There's a great book called Survival of the Fattest by Michael Crawford, and it discusses human evolution or brain encephalization, so the expansion of the human brain and its connection to the thyroid or thyroid physiology. and dependent on the minerals and the DHA. And again, that's why babies are not develop outside of the parent, of the mother, because again, if their brain was that big from birth, it wouldn't fit out the birth canal.
Right.
So again, that's breast milk. That's coming from your DHA stores from the breast milk. And again, are the concerns of heavy metals real? Like, again, I don't, from what I actually read a few weeks ago of oysters and mercury, there's nothing there. The only concern would be cadmium. And again, like cadmium, all these heavy metals, all these environmental toxicants, they shouldn't really be a concern if we have good health. And again, the microplastics, that's, again, it shouldn't really be going through the gut lining to a certain degree. And again, even then we have the immune cells, the lymphatic system to potentially deal with it as well. But again, I think with the increasing concentration of these toxins, the quality of where you buy your food, it does matter. But again, it's also the case with plant foods. Plant foods don't get a free pass. Green powders don't get a free pass. They're just much as exposed to things such as glyphosate. And even like things such as livers also accumulates toxins as well if it's not from good quality sources.
Right.
So again, it's like potentially seafood could be a problem for you, such as consuming like shark, swordfish,
the larger
bluefin tuna.
Yeah.
But it's also potentially the antidote as well. There's a study from like maybe 10 years ago that looked at Pacific Islands of females who were pregnant, and they were consuming, I think, bluefin tuna every single day, and they had no issues with mercury whatsoever.
Wow.
No issues with the baby, even on the follow-up study, even the follow-up period of like 5 years with IQ, no differences with the control group, nothing whatsoever. So again, are those people, do they have high redox? And again, inside the tuna as well is the selenium, the iodine, the DHA, the zinc, and you name it. That's how we deal with mercury to a certain degree.
Right.
So again, the poison potentially is small, the antidote is large, and the beneficial effects are greater. So again, redox before detox.
Right. And that's what I think people don't understand a lot about eating something like salmon roe, because you're going to get, everything's going to balance there, right? For the thyroid, you've got the selenium, you've got the iodine, and those, I see so many people now that are supplementing with iodine. And I'm like, if you would just eat, enough DHA seafood, you probably wouldn't necessarily need to supplement with iodine. And I think it can be problematic if people are over supplementing with iodine. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the mega doses put forward by, I think his name's Brownstein, I think that's his name. They're crazy amounts, like mgs. And again, like the RDA of iodine is 150 mcg, and that's like literally a quarter of a teaspoon, maybe even less than that, of kelp powder as an example. So it's fairly small. And again, that's to prevent like diseases and issues. So not really looking at optimal health, but ideally, from whole foods. And again, iodine is an important micronutrient. It's like the number one protector of DHA, or polyunsaturated fatty acids, in the brain. It allows us to actually create more piezoelectricity, or DC current, in the body as well. And again, what's going to be impeding that? It will be fluoride to a certain degree. And again, that's like years of, I don't know, water, toothpaste, and again, your parents, your grandparents, medications in the mix there as well, SSRIs, like typically antibiotics as well contain fluoride. It's literally everywhere. And again, it's like second most reactive element on the periodic table, below oxygen. So again, it blocks the current of energy, the direct current, DC electric current of the body.
Yeah. I know. My husband was like, "Why are you throwing out all the toothpaste a few years ago?" I'm like, because it's got fluoride in it. Like, I will not allow fluoride in my house. All of our water's filtered. Like, no, 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 not good for your teeth, not good for your health at all. But people still, go to the dentist and they're like, "We're going to give you a fluoride treatment." Please don't do that.
Yeah. But again, it's this comes back down to like the general public, is that they've allowed the centralized conventional system, and they trust them that they're going to do the right thing.
Right.
And that could also be said for the economy. That could be said for everything, basically.
Yeah.
This is good. It's good for you. There's no side effects. Just take it, get on with you. Don't question it.
Yeah.
And if you take the alternative view, you're a quack.
Right. Yeah.
And again, most people just say, I want the easy life. I'll take it. Your story sounds convincing.
I don't want to fight. Yeah.
You're a doctor. You're in a high position of authority. People generally think, and I do think doctors generally do mean to do well. But again, when they finish med school, typically they don't need to further educate themselves. They're done. They're good. They have a nice income. They get looked after. They want an easy life. And then there's you saying like fluoride this or glyphosate that or X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're crazy. You're thinking too much. And again, that probably be said to family members as well. You're the black sheep.
I'm the weird one for sure.
Yeah. Again, it's like crazy is good. Like, who wants to be normal?
Yeah.
Who wants to be the norm? Like, who wants the norm lab ranges? Who wants to feel like normal, like the general population, which has like metabolic dysfunction, chronic modern diseases, not just one, but several, poor quality of life, not be able to like wipe their bum when they're 70, touch their toes. Like, that's no way to go out. That's no way to thrive. And again, that's a choice. Like, optimal health is a choice. And again, it's just like, it always comes down to the person, the client, whether or not they are willing to change, whether they're willing to unlearn what they learned and then relearn again. Yeah. And again, there is, like you said previously, you could get too overblown with the fluoride thing. You could get too overblown with the glyphosate thing. You could get too overblown with like, all my meat has to be grass fed. Someone was staying with me in United Arab Emirates, and like they were like losing their mind because I was using a plastic chopping board to cut my meat. And again, like, this isn't my house. I'm traveling here. I've been traveling for the last year. I live nomadically. Like, I'm not going to carry a wooden chopping board around with me for the sake of this. I'm not going to lose sleep. There's bigger fights, there's bigger battles to worry about. As an example, like blue light, sleep, sunlight, and everything else. My concern with plastic, with cutting my meat on, is like so small that I wouldn't even blink an eye about it. It's like, choose your battles. Choose your battles wisely. And like, again, there's a great phrase by Jack, like, be careful who packs your parachute.
I like that. Yeah. And I feel like I learned that myself over the winter, because I kind of slacked on doing like perfect diet. I tried to just still eat seasonally, but I never would really allow myself to eat much dairy. But this winter I ate like all the raw dairy I wanted and just kind of enjoyed it. And my health actually got better over the winter because I was doing cold plunging 3 times a week. I was making sure to get my DHA in. I was grounding. I was doing sunrise, doing all the things with light, blue blockers. And I could kind of get away with more things in my diet. At Christmas, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to go to the family dinner, eat what everyone else is eating, which is rare for me. And I was fine. Like, it didn't cause an issue at all. And that was the point that I stopped, and I'm like, wow, I've been so freaked out about diet and doing everything perfectly. And if I had gotten all these other pieces correct the whole time, I don't think I would have had to make, all of this so stressful on myself, Yeah.
I mean, that just sounds like you got freedom back. And essentially that's basically what health is all about, to be able to have the freedom. So you don't need a prescription pad. You don't need any supplements for your health. You don't need to worry about plastic boards. You got freedom. And again, if that's you letting your hair down and having something over Christmas, like, so be it. You got the freedom to choose and make an empowered choice, whether you can handle that effect possibly, or just embrace it and live life on the edge and go crazy. But again, that comes again, it comes down to your innate health and ability to handle that. Because again, I don't think like that 80-20 principle really applies to most people out there, because they have compromised health. I don't think people can get away with an 80-20 way of living if they want to be free of modern diseases. Now, again, that's always someone's choice. If they want to, I don't know, play video games on their balls, basically, or stay up late till 4 o'clock in the morning, or never expose their skin, or wear sun cream, or whatever madness or craziness to us that appears, it's their choice. And again, it's their right to live the life that they want to live. And again, like, there shouldn't be no dictatorship with health. It's a choice. But again, you should understand the pros and the cons with every scenario. But obviously, that's not really shared with general advice out there. You just get told one story about the sun's toxic,
right?
Or that you need to eat 20 different types of vegetables from all different colors and have like 50 grams of fiber per day, which is not really true either.
No.
So again, there's never definitive answers. Like the notion of like the eat well plate is just complete bogus. Like all the conventional things are just complete like rubbish to a certain degree. Cholesterol levels, and again, there is there is like some context to these, for example, cholesterol levels, but just because it's like high doesn't mean that you should not be concerned. Like you should, and there's maybe further truth or thought to go down the line with that, is that cholesterol, total cholesterol, or elevated LDL cholesterol or lipoproteins, is it a risk factor? What's the subfraction of that? What are the particle sizes and numbers like? What's the HSCRP like? What's the other markers going alongside that?
Your omega-6 to 3, like.
I mean, you have people now promoting like high cholesterol is a great thing. Well, there's context to that.
That's why I had Dr. Twyman on, because I felt like he could really give like a non-biased answer to that. And so he did a really good job of talking about that, because it is not always a good thing, I don't think.
100%. And again, like conventional medicine literally just looks at the icing on the cake of like like lipoproteins or cholesterol, and they're not actually looking below that. So it's like, oh, you have total cholesterol, just take a statin. And again, that is going to set you up to like exercise issues, low CoQ10, like just fatigue in general. Why are they not testing further markers? Because again, that's not their paradigm. That's not supported via the people who are paying their wages to a certain degree. And there's so many conflicts.
There's so many conflicts. Well, I would love to ask quickly, I know we've been talking for a while, you're doing the nomadic life. What really made you shift from living in the UK to kind of chasing the sun, as you said earlier? Was there a big turning moment for you that made you want to do that?
I mean, even before I left, I was chasing the sun, but I was probably more chasing the cold as well. So I love the cold. My body actually craves cold. I love being cold. The big shift basically was the realization that I didn't need to be in a clinic in a epoxy room in Harley Street. I didn't need to subscribe to that nutritionist model or line of work. And again, freedom with health, but also freedom with life. Like, why would I want to be stuck in London in a dense, packed, populated city when I could just be living wherever I choose? And again, that could maybe be, that might look being in Abu Dhabi, for 5 months. That could look like being in Mexico, Costa Rica, like Morocco, wherever I see fit, and to be flexible, and to live life on my terms. And again, it provides a cheaper practice to run. It provides cheaper costs for my clients because now I don't have overheads with a clinic. And again, like, why would I want to just stay in one place? Why would I want to limit myself? Why wouldn't I want to explore and see animals, wildlife, meet people, see different cultures? Because again, that we have the ability. And again, like, all the detriments of modern technology, there is also benefits there to be found as well. So utilizing air travel, and again, not going on a plane every single week or month by any means, but like utilizing it because it's wonderful. And again, I don't know. I don't think I'm ever going to return to London again, basically, to live.
Really?
Yeah, I think, again, I've got like an apartment in London, and I'm even like questioning, like, I should just sell that and, I don't know, put that money somewhere else, which actually provides more lucrative income and be completely free. And just like, I mean, I literally don't know where I'm going to be in next month at this moment in time. I don't know. And it's kind of cool not knowing these things as well, living life on the edge.
Wow. That's very cool. I have
But
a meditation teacher of mine does the same thing. He sold his apartment in LA a few years ago. He was like, I'm just going to get rid of everything.
but saying that, you have to understand, like, the context of that is like, I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I don't have a really high mortgage or anything like that.
Right.
I don't have any real ties to be anywhere. So again, I've got the ability, if I had a kid that was like 1, 2, or a young age, I most likely would have to change that. I can be selfish in a way. So that allows me to do these kind of things. But inherently, I chose to do that at this moment in time. So
yeah, there's definitely a trade-off to that. Like my meditation teacher I was just talking about, he's 50, he doesn't have children, never been married, and he's just kind of like the eternal nomad bachelor, and he loves it. He lives in Mexico City right now. He just travels everywhere and teaches and writes books. And I'm like, yeah, that for me would not be a realistic, because I have family and all of that stuff here, but I think it sounds lovely.
yeah, and again, like, when you come to, like, maybe not Mexico, but other developing parts of the world, like, cost of living is super cheap.
Oh,
And
yeah.
again, like, what's happening out there with prices of food and whatnot, or living, like, again, like, it's expensive to live in the modern world. So again, setting yourself free of all these chains and commitments, not having bills, not having anything in your name to a certain degree. And again, that just frees up mental space, time. And again, like, time's a proxy for your health. Again, it's like, from my journey was like, I didn't realize this job, or like, say it's a job, but it's something I love to do, but being a nutritional therapist would be able to give me the freedom that I'm having right now. I was unaware that I could possibly do this. And if it wasn't for like COVID and all that pandemic madness, I would probably be stuck in London, I reckon. I wouldn't have like gone out there and like understood Zoom or Google Meets, or even people accepting that they could speak to me online. A lot of people back then, 2 years ago,
definitely.
I've got to see this person face to face. And again, now it's common practice to be speaking to people all around the world, and like having your workforce in the Philippines or wherever it be. And again, it's now a custom. It's now part of the norm thing to do. But again, like I said, I'm in a position where I'm like, I'm here and I can do it. But again, like, I've worked hard for this to be in this position. And I'm grateful, but I haven't made it or anything like that. I'm all about like my work, my job, how I make money is all about like my bigger lifestyle. I don't want to be like stressing myself out with clients. I don't want to be a slave for work. I want to live life on my terms fundamentally. And that's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Well, what's next for you? Are you you said you don't even know where you're going to be going next month. Are you just,
Well, I mean, I've got 60 days, well, now maybe 50 days in Mexico left, because that's the length they gave me on immigration. So I will be in, saying this, I will be in London on the 28th, 29th of May for a health summit. So I will be speaking there, and then I would probably stay in Europe, maybe South Europe or Northern Africa, for a few months after that, and then probably head to the United Arab Emirates again for maybe like 2-3 months for some clients there, and then probably head back again to Central America. I really like it in Central America. It's just very casual and laid back. I mean, I can walk basically around in my shorts, like basically sometimes no shoes on, and don't get really any like weird looks when I do that in London, or when I do it in the countryside of the UK, or I don't know, even in the UAE, which is it's even banned in the UAE to take your top off.
yeah, my sister lived there for a couple of years. I remember
Yeah,
it's very strict with everything.
yeah. And again, like
Yeah.
you have to respect their culture and everything
Yeah.
like that. And I can understand that. But again, that's not how I want to live on my terms. So again, if I want to change something, I do something about it. So again, it's nice to be able to be free of clothes and have skin in the game. And we'll see where I go. But London, Europe, UAE, maybe come back here. Who knows? Or maybe explore El Salvador as well. I don't know.
Oh, that sounds
Corey,
nice.
yeah,
I know Corey's down there right now, right?
yeah. I think he's coming back, but he's been there and he's saying it's amazing. I went to
Yeah.
Nicaragua, which I believe is kind of similar.
Yeah.
So explore that. But Nicaragua was like probably my favorite country in the last year that I've been in, just because the people are just haven't got anything going for them. Basically, they've been stripped of all their income, like from tourism, from actually America, because obviously it's not safe to go there. So literally, these people have nothing. But it's an amazing place with volcanoes, sea life, the surf, monkeys, the jungle. It's a beautiful place, and I hope like El Salvador is something similar to that, because I'd like to explore that as well.
Yeah, I know Corey was there definitely last week. He was posting some pictures and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing.
Mm,
Looks really nice. Yeah,
yeah.
cool. Well, I have one more question. I'm curious to know what's one thing as just in your profession that you maybe kind of clung on to, a belief that you clung on to for a long time that you've now completely changed your mind about. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, that would be for like resistance training and exercise. That's
Mhm.
only like fairly recently. So when I first got to the Arab Emirates, I was in Abu Dhabi, and essentially you needed like a pass to be able to go out to do anything, and I didn't have that pass, so I can understand. You probably know why. So
Yes, I
I
do.
didn't have that. I didn't have that pass, so I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go into gym. So
Mhm.
basically, I didn't train for like a month. No gym, no lifting weights, and maybe I done some sprints and like basic like push-ups every few days or so. But then I went to Dubai and I had access to a gym, and I literally didn't lose any strength whatsoever, didn't change any bit of body composition. The only thing that changed in Abu Dhabi was now I started just doing crazy amounts of ice baths. And again, I think that like preserved a lot of um, muscle mass and strength from the compression of cold therapy, improving uh, efficiency and protein turnover. Um, so again, so back to the point, sorry, was the like changing my view of like you need to train 5 days, 4 days, 3 days a week, and your workout needs to be 2 hours, and basically you're a slave to the gym for the gains or for your muscles. And again, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
If you train very smart and very well, and you recover and live life on optimal terms or on optimal health, then literally these gains don't go anywhere. Your
Yeah.
body holds on to things, that you have muscle memory, um, And again, if you're using exercise to lose weight, you have it all backwards, basically.
Yes.
It shouldn't be like that. You should not exercise because you ate X, Y, and Z.
Right.
You shouldn't exercise because you want to lose like body fat. It should be your overall lifestyle, which should be impacting that. And again, I train because I want to feel good. I don't train because I have to do it. I train because I choose to do it. And if it's going to fit into my routine or my day, or if I have the time, because again, my life is not dependent on the gym. My life's not dependent on how I physically look. It's about how I feel. And again, that's me like practicing what I preach and like being aware of that, reflecting that. And now like I can help clients who are like, who probably struggled with that, with the attachment of the gym. And again, coming back down to dopamine levels. Are they using the gym as a tool of replacing something else, or ability to numb or sabotage something else? Again, if you train well, you don't need to spend a lot of time in the gym. And again, like, that's probably indoors under blue light.
Right.
Everyone's using iPhones or like got 2 iPhones now.
Earpods.
Yeah. And again, that's like hellhole for your body. That's like hell for your body.
Yeah.
So again, that's probably like the biggest thing that I've let go of and discovered recently. Again, I'm the strongest I've ever been with less training. It's pretty insane. I'm really
I could
shocked
see your
about
pictures on Instagram. I mean, you're not lacking in muscle size at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. Like, I don't take creatine. I don't take amino acids. I do eat like, I wouldn't say excessive amount of protein, but I would probably eat like 2 times my body weight in kilograms of protein. Wow. So around about 200 grams of protein per day, around about that, maybe sometimes less. But again, I eat maybe 2 meals per day or 2 to 3 meals per day. I don't care about having post-workout stuff, pre-workout stuff, intra stuff.
The supplements.
I've let go of that, and my body does what it wants. And just so happens that I'm getting stronger, getting leaner, but I'm also getting more healthier.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a great message. And that's what I kind of learned with the whole global situation, because I didn't want to go to my gym. And so I invested in some things for home, and I kind of the weather here is pretty decent year round. So I can just drag everything outside and figure out how to train just outside for 45 minutes, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And it does everything I need it to do. I don't have to go spend hours at the gym in that unhealthy environment, Yeah.
I mean, literally all you need is maybe a tire, maybe some rope, maybe a sandbag, maybe a kettlebell, maybe a hammer, maybe a skipping rope. It'd be nice to have like a barbell with a few weights on it, but that's really all you need. Again, humans never operated in static motions, such as squats, deadlifts. We're very dynamic, and our movements are dynamic. And again, I think we should have been involved to be climbing trees. So again, I don't think the idea about like looking like a Hulk is wise for most people. But again, things such as like the MoveNat, I can't pronounce his name, but I think the guy that you know as well, Irvin LaCour.
Yes.
Yeah. So his stuff is amazing. I'm like, I would love to practice some of that stuff of climbing trees and just like being a little bit more supple in my movements. But again, I do like lifting heavy things and sprinting. But again, it's not costing my emotional, mental, and physical health, and taking me away from things that really matter and things that I really want to bring into my life.
Love that. Awesome. Well, this has been just a really, really great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you. You're welcome. No worries.
Yeah. And where can people find you if they want to follow you or work with you? What's the best way?
It will be my website, and that would be livevitae.com. So to spell that, LIVEVITAE.com, or Instagram, you can find me at Livevitae as well. So LIVEVITAE. And I have a blog, I have a newsletter, I have a book club, and send me a message and reach out, say hello.
Cool. I'll link all that in the show notes as well. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
You're very welcome. Pleasure.